In a world flooded with content and distractions, is it even possible to create art that matters anymore? Today, we are diving into the challenges of creating meaningful art in a noisy, oversaturated world, and how you can actually rise above all this chaos to make your art resonate. Hello and welcome to the Artful Maestro podcast. I am your host, Nenad Leonart, and here we are talking about all the things that concern us as classical musicians in the digital age. Now, as you know, being in a university, having like a formal education, it helps you a lot with the artist part of the job. But when it comes to the business side, when it comes to actually creating your career, when it comes to connecting, networking, and simply flourishing, well, there isn't many resources out there. And this is where Artful Maestro comes in. I have created this podcast as well as a coaching program where I help classical musicians such as myself and yourself work through the different challenges that we have to navigate in the modern digital age. I have been in this business for over 5 years. I have started working as a videographer first. Then I created my social media profiles that grew over 70,000 subscribers all across the world. All my videos that I created for my clients, they recently reached over 1 million total views on YouTube. And I've seen so many people have small successes with the help that I was providing them that I thought I really want to give this to the world. I really want to help everyone who is willing to grow and who needs kind of a roadmap to find themselves in this oversaturated world, right? Where do you even start? And today's topic, we are going to talk about how we can take these small pieces that are meaningful and that are so important and still make them stand out in a world where everything just seems to be turning over and over. This digital age has kind of given us these endless tools to create, to share, and to consume art. So you've probably noticed that a lot of it has exploded. Now we have the whole discussion with AI, which I'm not even going to go into it, but it's just been amazing with everything that's happening. With that, though, comes also the paradox of choice. So we have like these constant distractions as well. And last but not least, how the heck are you going to try and stand out when there's so much going on? Let's explore first why this noise exists, how it affects us as artists, and what we can do to create with intention. By the way, if you're looking to find some small materials that are going to amplify like your, message as an artist, let me tell you about our main sponsor, which is the Artful Shop. So there's a place where you can go and get merchandise, among other things, merch for musicians. So if you need a gift for a friend, let's say, or if you just want to buy something that it's going to be fun for you, go and check out Artful Shop. In checkout, if you put in the code ARTFUL5, you are going to get a 5% discount on your full order. So go out and check out Artful Shop right now. Now let's dive into why our world kind of feels noisy. Okay, we have social media as a double-edged sword. We have it as a platform where you can promote yourself, where you can kind of sell your services, right? Where you can tell all the people who you are and what you're about, and also stay in touch with others. So it's a very strong networking tool. And at the same time, it is full of distractions. So there's like the endless scrolling. It's kind of made to be addictive for us people. So we spend as much time as we can on there, basically so we can see as many ads as we can, because that's going to make the company money that otherwise lets us use an app for free, right? So that's just a lot of noise right there. Then we have something that's called the 24/7 news cycle, which it didn't used to be that way. It used to be that news just had a certain, let's say, opening times. So when whatever happened in between, you would just hear the next day in the radio or read it in the newspapers and so on. And right now, journalism is kind of happening all the time, all over the world. So everybody is informed within minutes, if they want to, on what's going on the other side of the world, which is crazy if you think about it. And that is also kind of really hard to filter out what's relevant, what's going on. And we've also seen a lot of the rise of the so-called fake news, where somebody would report something and then other journalists, because they have to be quick, they wouldn't even fact check this one thing, or they wouldn't double check or see where it's from. So there was a lot of really weird news spreading all around the world just because of this crazy competition. I mean, it wasn't fun for the news when the internet came and the social media came. They were kind of losing readers a lot. That was 15, 20 years ago. So they had to revert to these flashy headlines and stories that made people kind of feel emotional, so they would still read them. And this has not really helped with the noise. It actually creates even more noise. And to be honest, I'm just going to take it away from the end, where I said we're going to look into how you can have less noise and more meaning in your life as an artist. I actually stopped reading the news. I have set a timer for myself every day for just 1 minute, because I'm still kind of addicted to go and reading it. This is a whole different story about our addictions, like the dopamine and everything. We're going to go into it a little bit later. But I still go there, so I set a timer for myself. So it reminds me after a minute, hey, you actually don't want to be reading the news. And then I usually put the phone away, unless it's something that I think is super interesting or relevant to me. Then after a minute, I'll stay and finish the article and then put it away. But most things that are relevant, you will find out either way through other people. So you kind of don't need to read the news. And most people around me who don't read the news, they have better life quality. And I've actually wasn't reading for a very long time. Then I started, and I could actually see how my life quality dropped. And once that I stopped again and minimized my intake of popular news, my life quality got back up again. So this is really something that you want to take care. Is it worth getting these little shots of, oh, I read the news and there was maybe an article that's interesting for me? Your overall life quality is dropping. I don't know. See, you can go and do a test. Let's try to not read news for a week. Just try and see if you're feeling better or worse or no change at all. And then you'll know where to go from there. And also another point that we have, this is not related to news, but it's related to us as artists, it's to produce. Those who have worked with me and those who know what I'm about and what I tell my clients to do if they want to do networking, if they want to be in their music marketing, is to constantly put yourself out there. And this also means constantly putting yourself out there, that you kind of have to work on it and that you kind of have to put time into that. And it's a lot. Like if you think post every day, that's 365 posts per year, which is really a lot if you want to put in the time and the effort to create meaningful posts, a good caption, to share it at a good time. That's a lot of work. And even doing this lots of work, it's kind of super hard to stand out or to understand, like, how can I not produce more noise? How can I actually get into producing something that's relevant for others and for me? And because you don't want to be wasting your time and you don't want to be wasting everybody else's time. And sadly, when we look at social media, it's mostly about wasting everybody's time. So, oh my God, I really hope that we catch on this trend of creating meaningful stuff pretty soon, and that we can reduce this spiral of creating meaningless stuff, or like superficial stuff, or just something that nobody's really interested in. You see, the challenge is the more content there is, the more difficult it is for the actually meaningful stuff to break through. And sometimes the meaningful stuff isn't as flashy or as catchy or has this great hook that's going to reel you in. So you watch the whole thing, which makes it kind of really, really tricky. But it doesn't mean that's impossible. It just means that we need to adapt. And to adapt, I would like to read you something that I put together, and I think is very, very nice description of why we are where we are in the noisy world. So once that you understand that, it's much easier to go and change certain things. So when you know what's at the cause, you can be at the effect, and effectively changing your course of action and producing what you want to produce. So let's dive right in. Why the world feels noisy. First, the rise of digital connectivity. So the digital revolution has made it easier than ever to share ideas, art, and information. Platforms like TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Spotify, they give anyone with internet access a voice. And while this democratization of art is incredible, it also kind of led to an explosion of content. So every second, there's like a bunch of videos uploaded. There's a couple songs released. There's a new post shared. So this is really, really happening a lot all across the world. Actually, every minute, over 500 hours of video material are uploaded to YouTube. And millions of social media posts flood the internet. So just by looking at this sheer volume, you can understand that even absolutely exceptional work can feel lost in that crowd. Second, the attention economy. Social media platforms, apps, and even traditional media outlets are competing for one thing, which is your attention. Algorithms are designed to keep you scrolling, clicking, and consuming. And in this battle for attention, creators are pushed to produce more content more frequently just to stay visible. You'll notice this happening when you are posting regularly in the social media game, that you'll have these kind of drops from the algorithm if you don't post good enough content, or if it kind of gets a little bit stale. And this is very, very scary for creators also who make a living out of social media. So the pressure to keep up can make even meaningful art feel like it's being thrown into the void. And I've surely been there a couple times. So number 3, the 24/7 news and media cycle. Gone are the days when news was delivered in daily papers or on the evening news. So basically what we already talked about. Now it's constant and endless with notifications pinging every hour. As creators, this constant influx of information can feel overwhelming. There's always something trending, something new to react to, and it can distract from focused, intentional creativity. By the way, also to throw in, like you can see a lot of online creators jumping to the stories that are very actual at the moment. So it's kind of a little bit like a fashion. So today this is happening, and then everybody's doing like that trend, and then this other thing is happening, and then everybody's doing that trend, exactly what's mentioned here. And I find that that's not necessarily the best way to not add to the noise, but to actually create meaningful stuff. Let's continue with number 4, the myth of instant success. Platforms often amplify stories of overnight success. So like viral videos, breakout artists, instant influencers. While inspiring, these stories create unrealistic expectations for artists and creatives. I don't know about you, but I've seen this happening more and more in the media that I have been consuming, the small one, that a lot more influencers are actually being asked to do things, to perform things, and like, these are all different kinds of people, and they are not having just a platform on social media, but it's actually seeping into every kind of media and every kind of, advertisement, corporate world. It's actually really crazy. So what about the reality? Viral moments are rare and often unsustainable. Yet the pressure to achieve similar instant success adds to the noise as creators churn out content in hopes of making it big. And this is especially one with TikTok lately that people have noticed. You can have huge profiles on TikTok, but if your video sucks, it's not going to get shown a lot. This was a huge change, because it used to be like with Instagram and with Facebook, if you had a big profile and you created a post, it automatically got shared to many people. And TikTok was much more looking at the performance of each and every post. So it means that it's kind of much easier for people who are unknown to create something viral out of nothing and to become famous. But it also means that people who have a huge following, who are actually famous, that they don't get to reach their fans. And this is actually the reality with TikTok. Like, followers don't matter much there. It's much more how good of viral content can you produce. This is something that I'm also looking with people who are in the Artful Maestro coaching. And when we are talking about different platforms, this is a very specific kind of thing for TikTok. So for some people, it's really good to get into growth, but then later you're going to have maybe 1 or 2 issues. Let's continue with number 5, the paradox of choice. With so many creators and so much content, audiences are overwhelmed with options. They scroll endlessly, barely giving anything their full attention. For artists, this means it's harder to get noticed, no matter how good the work is. Audiences are bombarded with so many choices that even meaningful art can be overlooked. And this is absolutely true. Like, this is at the core of it all. However, if you are actually well informed, and if you have a professional working with you who knows what they're doing, you can create content. Like, you can take one type of video and then introduce a few elements to it, maybe record it in a little bit of a different way, or maybe make a more engaging cut, maybe put in a hook or something, which is going to drastically improve the chances of that video being recognized by the algorithm, shown to more people, but also to work with their short attention spans so that you can actually grab their attention and they watch it and then they start recognizing the value. Okay, number 6. It's the cultural FOMO, the fear of missing out. Social media has created a culture of always on. Artists feel like they must participate in every trend, in every challenge or viral moment to stay relevant. But this constant participation comes at a cost. Burnout, distraction, and a dilution of depth that meaningful art requires. So, I don't know about you, but I feel like every word out of this part is so true. So true. There's this always on thing, and if I have a day or a week where I'm super busy and I just don't feel like going on social media and I just don't feel like posting or engaging with others, it kind of feels already like I'm isolated. It kind of feels like I don't belong to this huge, colorful world that's spinning every day, and every day something's happening, and every day, oh my God, right? So on one hand, it's if you pull yourself a little bit out there, there's already, at least for me, the feeling of, I don't belong anymore. So there's like this underlying feeling of irrelevance starting to creep in. But at the same time, if it's just playing to play, it's very easy to lose the actual meaning behind it and to get into a burnout. I mean, that's definitely something that can happen. And I've had certainly moments in my life and in my career where I was at the edge of such a burnout, where I just didn't feel inspired anymore, didn't want to do it anymore. So maybe then taking a break is actually very good advice, by the way. You don't want to take a break before you even started. This is not for those who haven't started posting to be like, I feel so overwhelmed. No, actually, you need to start doing it, and then you do it for weeks, for months, for years, and then you feel the burnout creeping in, and then you take a break, but not the other way around. Don't be... I know many people who are struggling with this. They are just looking for an excuse to not be posting. And again, this is just like a skill that you are training. Like anything else, when you're practicing, when you're working those scales or this particular passage that also maybe sometimes takes weeks to develop, same thing with posting. You need to practice it to get a feel for it, to understand it. And then sometimes actual growth happens when you put it away for a little bit, and then you can take care of other things. And let's finish up with number 7. The noise becomes the norm. In today's world, many people consume art or content passively. Background noise, whether it's like a playlist, a YouTube video, or a scrolling feed, has become part of daily life. For creators, this means competing not just with other artists, but with the environment of distraction itself. I'm going to repeat this one because it's so important. For creators, this means competing not just with other artists, but with the environment of distraction itself. The whole environment. And that's a big one. How do you get someone to stop and truly listen or see what you have made? And this question sums it up. This is what we all are actually looking for. So, in a world where everybody is shouting and attention spans are super, super small, how do we as artists create work that stands out, not by being louder, but by maybe being more mindful and more intentional with it? This noise can feel overwhelming, but it is not insurmountable. In fact, by understanding why it exists, now we can begin to rise above it and make art that is actually connecting. So, what's some other tools that we as artists are taking on this? From the last point that we had, it's you're not just competing with other artists, you're competing with the whole thing that's happening in everybody's heads, on everybody's phone. It's starting, right? And then it's filling up their attention completely. So what's going on there? Well, there's also a different kind of problem that arises, and that is the whole impact that this kind of competition has on us artists with our creativity. There is not just the normal kind of burnout, but there's also like the creative kind of burnout where you just don't feel inspired to create something new, or how do you make a spin on that, or how do you go over there and create something new, or make like a new connection. And this also comes a lot from comparison, because you know that the algorithm is kind of ranking different things, and for everybody who's putting themselves out there and who's putting their art out there, they are doing comparisons. Even if you don't want to admit it, but actually we all do it, we all know. And then you go and look, how is your colleagues' stuff doing, and how is that stuff going on, and how can I this video of mine was better, but this wasn't. And like, there's also a small bias going on where when we're doing this, we kind of get into this thing of idealizing what others are doing, because we don't see all the work and the pain that goes into their work of, let's say, creating that post or whatever. And then we kind of feel like everybody else is doing better than we are. This is happening to everyone on social media. And if you didn't know by now, that's like the typical effect of just posting the highlights. So it can also be super depressing for people to go on and see, everybody else is having these great opportunities. They're having these great concerts. They are traveling at these nice places, and I'm not, right? Because you see like your life from your perspective, and you see their life from your perspective, which is just what they allow you to see on their social media, which is like a couple of highlights. And this is also something to be very, very careful about. It's a completely typical thing. I mean, it starts already with small teenagers who start into social media, and then they get these unrealistic expectations. So maybe we'll do even like an episode on that, just like the mental health of comparisons. Yeah, why don't we do that? That's kind of going to be one of the next episodes. Because I feel like there's a lot of potential there just to understand and to go there. For now, just understand it's very normal for you to feel that way, and you want to find certain mechanisms to put in place that you don't have to feel this all the time. Well, then there's also like the fear of irrelevance for us as artists. So I talk to people who also want to do like their classical music career to improve it, or to even start it, like when they're directly after studies. The main thing that I say, well, if you're not on social media, you're probably being irrelevant. But now we are also at a point where even if you are on social media and you are posting and it just reaches so few people, what's going on there? It still feels like you're irrelevant. So we don't want to have that happen. And last but not least, I also see this happen to so many creators. Don't do this one. Don't lose touch with yourself just trying to follow the trends to make this better, because it's not actually making it better, it's making it all worse. What will happen is, let's say, I've worked with a couple of people in this way, and it's outside of my influence because they don't want to listen, but they will be understanding this mechanism sooner or later. Here's what happens. You have somebody who wants to grow their online presence, who wants to grow their online influence, and then they start making videos that they think that are good and that they like, but they never actually talked to the people who are watching their videos. They don't know what their target audience is or whatever. So what happens is they just listen to their own opinion. So here's problem number one, just listening to yourself and not caring what other people need or what they want. So they create these videos that they think they're beautiful, and then they expect everybody to like them. And they expect these huge amounts of followers to follow, which just doesn't happen. So they go like, well, it can't be me, right? I am great. I am awesome. So it's got to be the algorithm. So let's see how this algorithm thing works. And they find out, you need to do like trendy stuff. So that is how I'm going to be shown to more people. So they start doing like this really trendy, following the newest developments that are happening, right? So what happens then? Then they dilute this authenticity that they even had before. So it's not even authentic anymore because they're just jumping on every little trend that's going on there. And guess what's happening with the followers? They also aren't coming, but they are trying more and more and more to fit into this, what they think is the bubble of social media, which is, frankly, sometimes even just embarrassing. And I'm sure that you have a couple people that you know from your surroundings, from your field, that you also can see sometimes videos that they are posting. It's kind of cringe. Ugh. And the reason behind cringe is always this, I need you to like me, please like me. Please, I'll do anything. Just give me the likes, give me the follows, give me the anything. And again, you don't want to be doing that because that's not going to get you likes. It's not going to get you follows. It's just going to be, again, embarrassing. So actually, what you can do if you are looking for ways to stay grounded and to just incorporate all these methods and tips, it's a good idea to sign up for the Artful Maestro newsletter. So I have a mailing list that goes out every week or a few weeks where I'm sharing some of the ideas, some of the techniques that we also use a lot in the coaching, but that also I have personally used and developed during the years to actually make art more stand out, to actually connect with audiences in a meaningful way, like all these important steps that you can take, small life hacks, stuff like that. You can just join by clicking in the link below this podcast and just sign up. It doesn't cost you anything, and you'll get a few chunks of information here and there that you can actually implement and benefit your career with it. Also, looking at this whole social media thing, I've been there. Like, I've had the ups and downs of having some videos go viral and then nothing happening for a long time. I was even at the point of giving up, and just asking myself, why? Why doing all of this? What's it worth? Who cares, right? And it's important to understand, first of all, it's not just you or me, it's all of us feel this way in certain moments, and they're just part of the process. And if you look at the bigger picture, usually the gold that is happening is just shortly after the moment of giving up. You probably know this picture of the guy digging a tunnel, and then he kind of gives up, and there's just diamonds right after he gives up and goes back home, like with the pike on his shoulder. So it is actually like that in reality. And if you look at who is at the top or who is actually doing good or great things, it's people who have not given up. They have just continued no matter the circumstances. They have just been going on and on and on. And also these people have been willing to do things that others have not been willing to do. Because at every path that you choose, there's going to arise certain kind of small jobs or tasks that you have to do, and you have to be willing to do them. You have to be willing to go through them, even if it's not something that you like or that you'd prefer doing. But sometimes it is needed to actually advance your career. So let's look at some practical solutions in this last part of the episode. How we can actually create meaningful art in a noisy world. So there's a few practical solutions for you. Number one, you want to limit the amount of noise that you consume. Just like what I told you with the newspaper, that I stopped reading the news, you can also limit the time that you spend on the actual social media apps. So let's say if you are somebody who is just caught in doom scrolling every day and you just end up, being 2 or 3 hours on TikTok, why don't you go into your settings and allot a certain time frame that you can be spending on each app every day? Let's say 20 or 30 minutes for maybe all the social media apps, or if you want to really do intense networking, but then you also got to do the networking and not just be scrolling, you can allot maybe 45 minutes or an hour. Now, I'm not saying zero, because when you do zero, you kind of also lose touch. Then you're not anymore on the social media and you don't see what people are doing. And what you also want to be doing is adapting a little bit. So there's new formats, new things to be catching on. And these are small details. So you want to be a little bit present and just see where this goes, but just a little bit, not too much. Okay, that's the important thing to understand. You want to feel this just a little bit. And then just set the timer, set the lock, and after 20 minutes or 30 minutes, it just throws you out of the app and says, you're done for today, come back tomorrow. You can do the same thing with the news. You can do the same thing with, if you have different systems that you can use, like with focus apps and so on. So there's also a very cool thing that I like, the TLDR, which is Too Long Didn't Read. And I've subscribed to them because they're giving me tech development, news on AI and new platforms and what's going on in the world. But these are very, very short articles. And I'm just informed, but I don't have to read the full thing. And it just takes me a couple minutes of every day to stay up to date. And sometimes it's a very interesting article. Like last week, I read that, for example, ChatGPT was better at diagnosing than doctors, which is crazy. It's crazy. So stuff like that, you maybe you also don't want to miss out, so you can go and find some kind of these small news curators. This was the TLDR. Then, number 2, practical solution. Reconnect with your why, reconnect with your purpose. Why are you doing this? Like, why did you go into being an artist? Why did you go into creating these beautiful things that you do? What's actually the reason behind it? Think about that. Try to feel as much as you can, and maybe even ground yourself in this purpose every single day. Like, you can create like a mini ritual or routine where you're like, okay, this is me, this is what I am about, and this is my why. Reason being that once you are strong in your why, other people will feel it. You will communicate it on many levels, and also decisions are much easier. So you don't have to spend so much time or energy deciding, should I do this or should I go there? But you kind of just know. Because when you're aligned with your purpose, all of this stuff kind of naturally falls into place. Number 3, be focusing on depth and not volume. So this is kind of an easy one to grasp. Try to put depth in your posts. Try to put depth in whatever you are doing, whatever you're saying. The purpose helps here a lot, but also to understand that there's many layers to what we are communicating, to what we are saying, and try to see what kind of layer you can use to effectively communicate something. Just as an example, there's people on social media, I never do that, but they kind of post pictures of their food, which there's no value in doing that to me. Just showing, it's kind of a little bit showing off, like, look at what I'm doing, or look what's going on here. And then, okay, fine. I mean, maybe there's people who are interested in that. I don't know. But you could look at this at another level, and you could maybe say, okay, if you're already into posting food, why don't I post like different types of desserts, let's say, that I'm eating, and connect all of them to a story with the place that I'm visiting right now. So there's like kind of small chunks of value, and there's like a story, so people can connect to that more than just dropping a picture of food in your story, for example. And that would be just a small tweak how you can go a level or 2 levels deeper. Number 4 is to engage authentically. You want to build real connections with your audience, not just followers who are kind of there, but you don't do anything with them. Because the more you engage with them, the more there is a back and forth, you will be more relevant to them, you will have more of a relationship, and you can actually count on that being one of the reasons why they think that your content is more relevant. Is this a lot of work? Yeah. Does it pay off? Yeah. So just do it. Start engaging authentically with your audience. And you already have at least 1 follower, so just start engaging with them. I've never worked with anyone who just had like 0 followers. So if you are somebody who has 0 followers, do let me know. And I want to work with you because that's going to be a challenge. Okay. Last but not least, which is going to be number 5, is to carve out sacred creative time. So protecting your focus with clear boundaries that you set, where nothing is coming in, nothing is coming out. You kind of just like create your bubble. There's going to be no distractions, no interruptions. You can just like throw your phone away. You can go into nature, or you can go into a spa. You can, I don't know, take a bath at home, or just take a walk, or do like a meditation or something, but do it like for a larger chunk of time. What this will do is it will bring you much closer to yourself back again. It will rejuvenate you in ways that are almost impossible to get rejuvenated today because of all the information bombardment that we have. So just by doing this sacred creative time where you can just hang out with yourself, with your thoughts, with your projects, without having any input from outside, you'll actually see how the development of yourself gets just much, much, much deeper, more intense, faster, advanced. Even doing this for like 3 hours every week or so, if you can block off some time in the weekend or something, this is going to change your life drastically. So if there's anything that you can take away from here, just use like this sacred time where you're blocked off from anything and anyone and spend a little bit of time with yourself and reconnect. Well, this will also help you to understand that some of the art that's out there has not really been created for like mass consumption, but for deep personal purposes. And I do believe that like these deep personal things, they are the ones that will connect the most. So that's where you actually want to begin. Okay, today we looked at the causes of today's noise. We have looked at its emotional toll on artists, and we have also looked at the practical steps that you want to create with intention. So your art does not have to actually be loud to be heard. And sometimes the quietest voices leave the deepest impact. So it's not about your voice, it's not about how loud it is, it's actually about authenticity, as we've mentioned. And if you are serious about growing, I highly suggest you work with a professional who has been doing this and who can actually help you develop this in a way that is suited to your personal style, to your authentic being, so you can grow with it and you can actually have successes and not be stuck in a rut for months and years because you're doing, let's say, maybe some basics. You have some imperfections there, or maybe some things that you aren't implementing in the way that they should be implemented. And by working with a professional, you can save a lot of time and a lot of energy because you get like direct, educated feedback, so you can adapt and work on it much faster and much easier. For more insights like this, and for more inspiration and anything related to this topic, do follow Artful Maestro on social media. That's where I put out the best of the best content from the podcasts. We see their success stories. We have some discussions. So go over to Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, and just subscribe to Artful Maestro. And otherwise, you'll be missing out on pretty much cool content that's relevant to you. And even if you're looking on top of that for a place to grow and to share your knowledge and your experiences and anything like that, you can connect with other artists that are basically navigating in the same field as you are, trying to grow, trying to advance their careers. That's in the Artful Maestro Inner Circle. So this is a private community that you apply for. And once you are admitted, you can, this is for free, by the way, you're not charged anything to be inside of there. You just need to contribute to the other members, and they will be contributing to you as well. So that's the thing that's going on. They are growing together. They talk about their websites. Hey, can you look at my latest post that I did? Do you see any kind of improvements that I could make? And that's actually the power of this community, that you can band together, you can network with other artists and kind of create your own mastermind where you can grow together. Okay, so find the links below of the podcast. You can find the links for the social media with the link tree, and you can find the link for the inner circle that you want to join. So thank you for tuning in. This has been a long ride. It's been an important one. And here's a final thought. The world might be noisy, but your art has the power to cut through when it comes from a place of truth. The world might be noisy, but your art has the power to cut through when it comes from a place of truth. Have a good one, and see you in the next episode.